Hi there, everyone, and I want to thank you for just clicking on that video link and deciding to listen to what we're going to be speaking about today. I'd like to introduce you to Nikki Young. She's from iThrive, and they have a very exciting product that we're going to share with you. And hopefully, you will communicate with her and get in touch with her and bring this to your school. So, Nikki, thank you so much for your time and agreeing to chat with us today. But tell us about iThrive.
Thank you so much, Morgan, for inviting me to be on here. It really is such a privilege to be a part of a Christian community and to be from our side focusing in that direction. And yeah, just in terms of I Thrive, at the heart of what we do is really helping parents, teachers, any leader in a child's life to bring out the best in them. And, one of the scriptures that we hang on to is that it is the glory of God to conceal a matter and the glory of kings to search it out.
Mm.
And we really believe that there is such a wealth and a richness within our kids that unfortunately, due to the way the schooling system is structured and often just due to the craziness of life, we miss those things. And so, through the courses that we've developed at iThrive, we really want to help and equip parents, mentors, and teachers to bring out the strengths and the wealth that is within our kids. They've got so many challenges coming at them these days. I think we're all well aware of that, from gaming and what is available to them online. The reality of them landing up stuck behind a screen is very real. And so what we want to do is equip parents to understand that there are specific strengths within their kids, that if they nurture those strengths, they will be able to assist their kids in finding out what their real passions are and what they're really called to do ultimately. And in terms of teachers, for them to have a different set of eyes when looking at the kids in their classrooms, often we can look at a child and think, well, this is just a child who's being difficult or not listening. But when you have the lens of strengths to work with, you really see the motivation of kids. You see what is within them. You see possibly something that other people don't see. Often in a classroom, you can have a kid who's loud and boisterous and trying to take over. And it's very easy for us to look at that child and go, oh, they just, not suited to the system, which is a possibility, or they're just trying to be disruptive. But maybe that child has something called a present strength. And that present strength is something that is deeply ingrained in who they are. So they rock up at school and they have this strength and they want everybody to know that they are present and that they've got something to offer. Now, often in a classroom, there's no space for that. And we understand that. We understand that there are limitations for teachers in classrooms, but it can really change the mindset of a teacher when they see, look, this child's rocked up with something to give. It's not because they're naughty, but it's because of who they are.
Mm.
And then within that space, create opportunity for that child to express that strength and share that strength. So just to back up a little bit, when we're talking about strengths, we are talking about innate natural abilities. Kids rock up in class fully loaded with everything that they've got to give. And often in a classroom environment, we restrict that. We have to, just to maintain some level of order. But if we make some slight shifts in how we do things, we can give our kids the opportunity to develop their strengths. So I'll give you another example of a strength. Some children have what is called a competition strength. That strength causes them to be driven. It causes them to, just want to take everything on. And often it's not a pretty strength. It certainly can come across as being very difficult, as not caring about other people. but it can benefit them so much later in life if we understand how they're being motivated. It's not because they're ugly and they don't care about other kids or other people. It just means that there's a drive within them, an innate drive to compete. And I know of a family, and I coached a family, a large homeschooling family. I think there are 6 kids. And the one child just would never play the game. You know, they wanted to have this loving, accepting environment where every child bonded with every child, and they would have family fun game nights and that sort of thing. And this one child just seemed to cause trouble in the scene. And when we went through the strengths with them, they realized that this child actually had a competitive strength. None of the other kids were really strong in that, and so it was all about love and let's not worry if so and so did something wrong in the game. But a competitive child won't let those kinds of things go. So in that family, when they realized this child wasn't trying to be difficult, he was driven and motivated differently, it brought such a relief for them because they were then able to understand that this child does love the family and love everyone in the family, but had different motivations. And so, these things, if they're not dealt with and processed in our lives, we see it as adults as well, then we can really suffer from a sense of rejection because who we are is misunderstood. And so through our strengths programs, we really want to help people to understand specifically the kids in their lives. We do have programs available for adults, but at this point in time, we're focusing on training teachers and parents how to recognize these specific strengths in their kids so that they can accommodate it to an extent, but also to help parents and teachers to know and understand the difference in their roles when it comes to kids. Often parents expect something of teachers and schools and the education system that it simply doesn't provide. And often teachers expect parents to sit back and let them do their job. Through strengths, we want to create a common language so that we are firstly looking at what is positive about the child, but so that each one can be equipped to know the steps they can take moving forward in helping each child develop their purpose journey. So the long-term goal is to help children find out where their strengths lie, how they can best use them, stimulate them, explore the opportunities available to them in relation to their strengths, so that they can find a career path that they will enjoy, that they are wired for, and really create that understanding. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know what the jobs are going to be in the future. I've read some stats recently where they say everybody who jumped on the bandwagon in terms of coding, now with AI, it's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have put so much emphasis on it because that's now being taken over by AI. When you look at strengths, you are dealing with an entirely different dimension in terms of the inner workings of a person. And so by the end of it, they should be able to look at any career and know for themselves whether they are suitable for it. They will know how they work, how they function, how they are wired. So no matter what opportunities come up in the future, they will have an understanding of whether they will be suitable for that job. As well as the fact that these days we change occupations, so much more than in the old days. And it makes it that much easier to say, okay, I know these are my basic strengths, my basic giftings. And how can I transfer those skills and abilities and strengths from this career path to possibly a different career path? Because you're working with the building blocks of who a person is. So hopefully that sums up clearly what our goal is, really to equip parents and leaders in the lives of kids to draw out what is within them, to create environments so that they can speak life into what is within each and every child, because every single one of them has a strength. Every single one of them has something great about them, but can be so easily overlooked and just due to life, due to life, due to the way systems are set up. And it's nobody's fault. Nobody is at fault here. It is the way it is. And, there was a time when I thought, okay, well, the education system needs to change. We need to, and I'm sure everybody's heard a lot of those comments along the way. And I realized that I certainly don't have the power to do that at this stage. But what I can do is build a bridge. What I can do is bring something into the education system and to parents as well that can help them move forward and look at the future, not overwhelmed, but with an understanding. I know my husband did a talk with the with some school principals, and he said to them, "How is it that kids, after 12 years of being in school, do many of them, not all of them, many of them do not have an understanding of who they are and what their purpose is?" Because ultimately, that is what we should be providing for our kids in school. We should be getting them to that point where they know what they want to do and what they can do, not just within academic realms, but in all fields. So that really is our goal, and to build that bridge between parents and education systems. Parents often feeling disconnected from the educational realm. Like it's so overwhelming. They just can't, they don't know they don't know the entry point. They don't have an entry point. But when they know and get to know and understand their children and their kids' motivations, it then enables them to also have a say in how their kids move forward. And so it's empowering to parents, it's empowering to teachers, and creates that common language. I went into my parent-teacher meeting in relation to my youngest child, who she's in grade 4 now, but in grade 3, I went into the meeting and the teacher said to me, Joelle has such potential. She could do so much better. And I, right off the bat, was able to say to the teacher, you know what? My child has a very strong relating strength. She has to relate to other kids. She has to connect with other kids in order to build her up. And I said, you know what? Don't worry about her academics. She's doing well. It wasn't that she wasn't doing well. I said, just relax on her academics. She's also a very caring child, so that is another one of the strengths. Connect with her on her caring ability, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And I sat back, and by the end of the second term, I got a message from the teacher and explaining how well she had done. I'm not permitted to share exactly how well she did. But this year, she came third in the grade so just to give you an idea, she is excelling academically. But that teacher in her grade 3 year connected with her based on the fact that she was a child that is deeply caring. And then everything else exploded. Everything, all her other strengths started to come to the fore because she felt so safe. She felt seen. She felt like she was understood by this teacher. Her confidence went through the roof. And other strengths started to develop as well, to the point where she was asked to be the lead in the school play. Now, I'm not saying this to say that my child is anything special. Finally, I was the one who was going to say, no, she can't be the lead in the school play. I know that that's not her greatest strength. Well, it wasn't her greatest strength, but her confidence had been built so much that even her lower strengths started to come to the fore. And that is what we see with strengths. The more you build into them, the more it builds their confidence, the more it causes them to step into realms maybe that they're not great at, but they're willing to give it a shot. So that is what I've seen personally with my child. And the teacher as well was like so relieved almost that I'd taken off this academic pressure. I was like, just relax. I know my child and I know what's going to cause her to flourish. And when we can do that as parents, it's then that added extra support to teachers.
Yeah.
And it is hard for teachers to not just look at things academically because that's how they're wired. It's an academic system. And so the expectation on the teachers is to push the academics as far as we can go, but sometimes to the detriment of our kids.
Mm.
And really, if we can expand a sort of what teaching means, if we can expand our understanding of what it means to bring out the best in our kids, then everybody's going to be a lot happier. The kids going to be happier, the teacher's going to be happier, but most importantly, we'll still be able to work towards a fulfilling purpose for every child, because every child has a strength that can be
Mm.
developed.
I love that. Um, some of the words that you used, words like destiny, like purpose, those are words that just they're so heartwarming. If you stand in front of a class with 20 kids, knowing that each one has a specific purpose and a destiny, and we are part of the facilitators helping them discover that. And as you say, yes, we measure academics, but do we actually look at the things around it? And your testimony of your daughter was very touching, because had that strength, that relational strength in her been suppressed, the other results wouldn't, I believe, the other results wouldn't have followed. Um, Take a child that is competitive. If we purposefully suppress that part of the child, I'm sure the child will be very unhappy. Whereas if we
Mhm.
are geared to actually embrace that and teach according to that and allow for that child to master his strength in an acceptable manner, because I'm sure that's what you do, is help
Mhm.
them to recognize their strength, but to manage it well. That child will then flourish. And as an
Yes,
ex-rugby coach, boy, oh boy, do we need those competitive boys on the field. And if we
absolutely.
are doing our best to suppress that in the class, you need a jackhammer to get them to be competitive when playing sport. So it's all
Yes,
good. I really
yes.
love this. Um,
Morgan, just on that note, one of the concepts of strengths is that our weakness is not held within our lower strengths. Our greatest weakness is found within our greatest strength. And my son is highly competitive. It's at the top of his list. And his greatest weakness falls within that, where if he doesn't win, it's all fall down, all fall apart. And it was noticeable from 18 months of age. And just to give some comfort to parents out there who possibly have a competitive child, it is the most terrible thing to see and to have to deal with on an ongoing basis, because it's bad sportsmanship. It's throwing their toys out the cot. It's crying and being angry when they don't win. And I was one of those parents, as again, I was going to say, like, I'm not putting up with this kind of nonsense. You will not play sport. You will not do anything if this is how you're going to behave. And thank goodness at the time, my husband had already done his strengths coaching, and he had a great deal of understanding. And instead of squashing my son, he was able to take him aside, because he's a tennis player. And he was able to say to him, look, you've got an incredible strength here. You have got a drive and a competition that is gonna serve you well in your life. But you need to choose whether you're going to be a Kyrgios. I don't know if you're familiar with tennis. If you're going to be a Kyrgios or if you're going to be an Anderson. And I think at that time Anderson was playing, I don't know if it was Wimbledon. He had fallen on the floor, got up and played the shot with his left hand. And my husband was able to draw a comparison that my son could relate to, because now he's seen both of these tennis players play. And this is where strengths from a parenting perspective is so helpful,
mm,
because you don't have to squash the child. You can say, you've got something here, but how are you going to manage it? You
yes.
need to dial down these aspects of your strength and dial up other aspects, the positive aspects. And so it's been very real for us in terms of seeing that a person's greatest weakness is right there alongside
Mm,
their greatest strength. And so
yeah.
often we squash the child completely. instead of nurturing it. And sometimes it's a really fine line for a parent and can be exhausting. We still have to deal with it with our son today. It's an ongoing thing, but at least it's not a source of rejection for him
Yeah.
and failure for him. It
Yeah.
still has the incredible positive potential, that strength.
Yeah. I love it. And I love your testimonies. And it, as a parent, but also as a teacher, I can just see I Thrive equipping the adults in a better way to deal with every individual in their class. So I just have a one or two questions. Age-wise, what would you suggest, or with what ages do you work?
Okay. So research shows that strengths in a 3-year-old are the same strengths evident in a 26-year-old. So you can start working with this from the age of 3. And as I said, I mean, certain things were evident in my kids from 18 months of age. But from the age of 3, you can start working with the child. The younger you start, the better. I've even seen the impact in my 2 kids having started earlier with my daughter. So the sooner you can start, the better.
Hmm.
Get in there early. It's not an overwhelming process to go through when you start young. So from the ages of 3 to 14, we work with the Gallup strengths that is called StrengthsExplorer, and there are 10 strengths within that assessment. So by the age of 10, they can actually do an online assessment. When we did ours with our kids, we already knew their strengths before they did the assessment. The assessment was just a confirmation.
Yes.
Um, so from 3 to 14, we work with Strengths Explorer, 10 themes, and the assessment can be done at the age of 10. I don't encourage rushing into doing the assessment because a huge part of the strengths journey is helping the child learn about who they are. It's
Yes.
not just about saying, oh, you are this, you are this. It's,
Yeah.
hey, how do you feel about that? So there really is a beautiful journey around strengths in
Discovering. Yeah.
helping our kids discover it, you know. And our kids were able to pick out their own strengths. You know, they're sharp.
Mm.
And so that's kind of the journey we really want to encourage. Not just anyone can go and do the assessment, it's available on the Gallup website, but we don't encourage that. I don't encourage that right off the bat. There's
Yes.
too much of a beautiful
Yeah.
journey to go on with your kids. And then from 14 years of age, I think from 15, the CliftonStrengths assessment is available. And obviously, that's a lot more in depth. There are 34 strengths in terms of adult strengths. And research has been done around both, if anyone's aware of Gallup and the Gallup poll and the extent of their research that goes into everything. So there's a substantial amount of research about, around their assessments. But from the age of 15, you can go on and do the adult one
Yeah.
and develop from
Yeah.
there. For me, the most powerful thing is teachers and parents getting involved in that 3-year to 14-year age group and working with kids along those lines. So we do training for parents and we do training for teachers around that. And so that really, from my perspective, is my passion, my goal to
Mm.
get into the schools at a young age. And then from the age of 15, we do run a course for students, a strengths course. We have my husband also works with another organization where they have done the strengths course. They call it Future Engineer. They've done this strengths course at Kersney, and it's now becoming a recurring course where we go back and each year take a group of boys and do a strengths course. So helping them understand really everything around strengths, the strengths journey, and they also do their assessments. So we do offer a course that relates to that. We're a little bit restricted at this time in terms of how much we can offer that. Because my husband, Robbie, who is the other director, is employed full time actually in terms of being a pastoral coach within a school. And so he's now doing all of the strength stuff within the school that he
Mm.
is working
Yeah.
within. So we sort of have to manage the amount that he can get out in terms of doing the adult stuff. And then we also do offer courses that relate to teachers themselves and school management. So for them to discover what their strengths are and how to use their strengths within their teaching
Yeah.
profession. So
Yeah.
we do have those available. We just have to manage it in terms of timing. But I am fully available in terms of doing teachers and parents in relation to the younger age groups.
Well, I love that. So it's a full spectrum. You can pitch
Yes,
at primary school level or high school level, or even a principal can get you in to work with his team or her team
yes,
to get the best out of every staff member and celebrate who they are. So,
yes.
what we'll do is we'll make your telephone details and contact details available on the screen, and I'm trusting that that schools will reach out and that you'll be able to journey with them. So I want to thank you for your
Awesome.
time. It's been so enlightening.
Oh, thank you so much,
Thank you
Morgan.
so much, Nikki.